Okay, thank you for coming today. My name is Stan Bissinger. I'm going to be talking about the gut-brain connection. Bottom line is that there is a vagus nerve that basically connects your gut to your brain. And I'm going to just, before we start the videos, I'm just going to try to clarify a few things about this process. I am kind of from a top-down perspective. I know that a lot of people, when they look at the body and they look at the human condition, they sort of start right away with the DNA side of things and the cellular type of thing and so forth. Essentially, the biome is another entity in your body. It's not part of your body, but there are 10 bacteria for every cell in your body. Most of these are in your gut, but they're everywhere. They're in your bowels, you're in your mouth, and you're in all your sexual parts and so forth. They're all basically different kinds. There are heroes and there are villains. Like people, some of them kind of go back and forth between those two categories. But there's a concept of biotics that includes the probiotic, which is your nutrition that you can eat that's going to provide for the bacteria that that you want. And then there's a concept of prebiotics, which is more like a feeding of the biome that you want to provide for. So think of the probiotic as being the seed and the prebiotic as being the fertilizer. Let me get started here with the first video. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm not, for some reason my reactions aren't working, but I'll work on that. Someone knows how to raise their hand.
Well, that's
yeah,
about
I'm glad they hit the just an anecdotal story of a guy who had some really weird, it's quite rare illness. It just gets progressively worse in the gut, and he was just miserable, and they had tried every pharmaceutical known to man, and he got in a study on fecal matter transplants, and literally he took a couple of pills, right? And literally within 2 to 3 hours, he had relief he hadn't had in 2 to 3 years. And I didn't hear the follow-up, whether his body rejected. So his body had somehow eliminated the good bacteria that he needed. And it sounds gross, but it's just a pill. I mean, we put a lot of gross pills down our gullet. So
Christopher.
If the biome, I have two things to say. One, if the biome really does have a dramatic effect on the brain, then you would expect, as the woman said in this thing, that taking antibiotics would have a dramatic effect on somebody's behavior. It should be dramatic. I don't see that. I know people who have taken antibiotics, and I haven't noticed a change. I have taken antibiotics. I am not aware of a change. There may be, but it is based on my personal empirical information. That is a piece of data that contradicts what was said in this thing. One other thing, and that is that if the The stomach microbiome is probably very affected by diet. If a person is a carnivore, if a person's a vegetarian, if a person's a vegan, it is known that different diets will have a dramatic effect on the microbiome. So that they should address that. Is that there's no doubt that the diet affects the microbiome. That's been established. Does diet affect mood? So I just raised that as an issue. That's all.
Well, I think that there's a challenge to anecdotal style observation, because I think that I mean I see the idea of passion and emotion as being kind of controlled by our gut, and the brain is responsible, in my opinion, for more rational thought. And the the edge between those two ideas of reason versus emotion is not binary, it's pretty much gradient, gray. So I don't I don't know if there's, I mean, I do know that when I've had a treatment of antibiotics for myself, the doctor usually says, eat some Greek yogurt and you'll kind of recover. That was it. That was their recommendation for that. So I think that it's, I realize that the whole idea of adding a layer of microbiome information on our health data is a more recent phenomenon. By the way, this video was 8 years old, and I have some more recent stuff to watch. But I kind of like the analytic presentation of it. But I think there's more to come. Go ahead, Tom. Tom.
Two things. I have noticed correlations between what I eat and what I feel and how I think. They are unfortunately not very useful predictions, but I've seen that. But I think part of all of this is a philosophical problem. We think of reason as not being an emotion. Like they're two opposing things. I think reason is an emotion. It's just an emotion that can be expressed in a logical fashion as opposed to a feeling or an action. The bright line between reason and emotion, I think, is a fog.
Thanks for agreeing with me.
Yeah.
It's well known that people who don't have brain damage and don't have emotions, they can reason, but they can't make a decision.
I know people without brain damage that have that.
Okay,
problem.
Wayne is next.
I've always found it a little bit disconcerting to realize there are more bacteria in my gut than cells in my body. I feel like I'm a mere puppet of these things. So I don't always like to think about it. But yeah, for me, I found when I take antibiotics, it just really wastes me. I'm just totally drained until probiotics came out and made it a bearable experience. I don't know how much the mood has been affected, but if I do feel, if I am having digestive problems, mood goes down quite a bit. And probiotics can help, though they're not the miracle cure that we initially thought, where we're supposed to take 5 probiotics every hour and it could just be wonderful and everything. That turned out to be kind of a bad thing, they found out. So yeah, I'm very interested in this second brain gut interaction, but I'm not sure how much the science is No, I'm glad to find out that the speaker or the video was very good, but it's 8 years old, so I'm really anxious to see what's happening now, what we can do, and that's it for me.
Good. Okay, thank you. Carol?
Yes. Personal experience is that taking antibiotics, particularly
Chris, could you please mute?
taking antibiotics for me, particularly a new antibiotic to me, that my system has not adjusted to living with, or a heavy dose of antibiotics definitely affects my guts. I mean, we get into a serious case of diarrhea, like the intestinal bacteria are dying off and everything is coming out of my system. But I have noticed no effect on mood or cognition. I mean, aside from the fact that, it's unpleasant to have a case of diarrhea.
How about energy?
How about what?
Energy. Do you have any,
Energy.
well, you say mood. Do you have any feeling of more energy?
Well,
When you feel like you're,
that's kind of hard to talk about because
Chris, please mute.
Just mute him, Stan. For Christ's sake, mute him.
we're talking about
Mute him. Please. Thank you.
first off, I'm sick, or I wouldn't be taking the antibiotics. And secondly, I am washing out a lot of my nutrition before getting all the value of it. So given those two things, I do tend to see a change in energy levels, but I'm not sure how much of it was there before I started taking the antibiotics.
okay. Dean?
Yeah, so apparently, see, this is not news to me. Apparently, this was known in my family for 2 or 3 generations. As in, my mother would literally say, and she got it from her grandmother, from her mother, who got it from her mother, go out and eat dirt. And literally, right? Our sandbox was also the litter box. And I was a healthy kid, very, very healthy. And you can Google it or AI it or whatever you guys do. And the advent of antibiotics, penicillin, and the sulfa drugs and all that rigmarole around World War II, just before I was born, has made us a much unhealthier society. Now, it has saved a lot of people from gangrene and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And but this idea of when you have a virus and you go to the urgent care and they give you an antibiotic, which will have zero effect on and my healthcare plan has always been very stingy with antibiotics because they are responsible, because the advent of broad spectrum antibiotics has killed our biome. And that is why we have autism. That's probably why we have a whole host, allergies, everything else, because we have murdered off our body's ability to take care of itself as we did. Now, if I had gangrene, would I take, but I don't, whenever I get an antibiotic, maybe once every 3, 4, 5 years, if it's truly I used to go in and say, okay, I hope it's strep, because if it's strep, then you'll give me antibiotics and it'll be over in a few days. But if it's viral, antibiotics have absolutely 0.00% effect on viruses. They are immune to antibiotics. The viruses were around first. And yeah,
so are the
but
bacteria.
if Chris hasn't seen a connection between antibiotics and your gut, then his anecdotal evidence is not correct. And I'll hold this up. Prebiotics are broccoli, right? Sorry, George W. And I've been taking this now for 3, 4, 5 years. One of the biggest sellers on Amazon. It's about 50 cents a day. And it has 60 billion probiotics, 11 strains. And my gut is very, very good. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I mean, yogurt, yeah, but this has things that yogurt doesn't have. And, but all of that. All right, Eric, you're up.
Many, if not most, antibiotics are targeted at limited strains of pathogenic bacteria, so I wouldn't necessarily expect them to have major effect on the normal, good, healthy bacteria.
Yeah, you're talking, I'm sorry, but you're talking about narrow spectrum antibiotics, not broad spectrum. And we are moving towards those, the ones that target what they're trying to target, and not the nuclear option.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would generally be healthier if they can narrow it down to what pathogenic bacteria they're after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great,
David,
Dave.
you're up.
David, you're still muted.
Thank you. Kahneman wrote a book, I think, Thinking Fast and Slow, where he talks about the difference between intuition and rational thought or rationalization. We're much better at discussing rational thought, but we have at least those two different ways of thinking, as he talked about in his book. But it's not something that most of us are very good at analyzing or even necessarily being aware of. Were you going to get into discussion of the nitrous oxide in the body, Stan?
Nitrous oxide?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay. It's been determined that one particular strain of bacteria, microorganism, on the back of the tongue processes nitrates or nitrites in the body that produces, I think it's nitrous oxide, that serves as a signaling molecule for blood pressure and a number of other things. So we have this complex system that depends on some of those microbes in our gut to actually produce some of the chemical functioning that our body depends on. It's complicated.
Yes.
Tom,
What David said is true. Actually, the mouth is the first part of your digestive system. And there are enzymes in your saliva that start your digestion, especially for things like milk and so forth. So you should not gulp your food quickly. You should chew it well or whatever, and let it sit in your mouth for a little bit before actually swallowing, because that allows that digestive process to get started better. So it's not only the gut-brain system, it's your whole digestive system, starting with your mouth.
right? Good. Okay, well, I want to, can we start with another video before we continue on?
Yeah, can we do Chris and me real quick? 15 seconds each.
Go ahead.
Chris?
From an evolutionary point of view, it should not be surprising. It should be expected that evolution has used microorganisms to its benefit. The microorganisms were around before we were. They've been around for billions of years of evolution, and they can do specialized things that animals can't do. And it would be very surprising if evolution did not avail themselves of the features of these microorganisms that have been in their environment forever.
Well, I don't think that the body decided to make a decision like a judicial system to let the bacteria come in and do their thing. I think that the bacteria in our evolutionary progress happened that, you know, decision.
Back up, Stan. We are evolved from bacteria, for crying out loud.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, evolution doesn't decide. It's just accidents happen.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, what was my thought? Damn it. You guys get my brain reeling. Yeah, well, I'll come back. And Stan, just one request I have of all presenters. When they do a video, can you tell me whether it's 2 minutes or an hour and 22 minutes? That's all.
Okay, I'm going for a TED Talk right now, and it's 12 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay, this was the diet portion of the talk. I'm going to share just a little bit here about my own personal anecdotes here. I started to look into the gut-brain connection in December, or the latter part of last year. So I decided to make my New Year's resolution to add some things to my diet. And I don't want to go into too long a story, but my breakfast included a banana and orange juice because I was washing down some medication. I'm not using that anymore. I'm using plain yogurt in the morning to wash down my medications. And I've added sauerkraut to my lunch and my dinner, not a lot. In fact, and I've been adding kefir. I never even had kefir. I never even really knew what kefir was, but I started to take kefir. Is kind of like it's got the texture and it's kind of like a eggnog type texture, but it's more like a smoothie. And you can get it in strawberry or blueberry. I don't think the fact that it's got some sugar in it in that case. I mean, even yogurts have flavored yogurts, but if you go with the plain, you're better off. And it's an acquired taste. I would say plain yogurt to me is kind of like water. It doesn't really have a bad or a good taste. It just has a texture more or less. And I'd say kefir is kind of the same. Kefir is kind of like a more liquidy version of plain yogurt.
Yeah, I find it helps if you add berries like blueberries to the yogurt.
And
We're raising hands there.
on my oatmeal for breakfast, I'm adding walnuts and blueberries. Yeah, I've added walnuts and blueberries.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm going to say about this is that it's been very successful, I think, in many ways. I did have a little bit of constipation in the early part of doing it, but I discovered that I was eating too much of the sauerkraut, and I've kind of backed off. I mean, I'm literally not eating more than maybe hardly 2 or 3 tablespoons. I mean, I'm eating it like a medication, not like nutrition, but it's kind of like both. Okay. So that's my personal, and I'm as low as I've been. I was up to 230 some time ago.
Holy crap.
Not all of that was, not all this weight loss, but I'm down to about 175 now. And I'm 6'3". So I feel like this is working out well for me. And so, yeah. And go ahead, Dean.
Yeah. So first, a nod to Tom and his reference to mastication, which is chewing. And yeah, chewing your food is very important because the things in your saliva are different from the things in your stomach. And when you wolf your food, it works for wolves. It doesn't work for humans very well. And then we grab the Pepto-Bismol, et cetera, et cetera. I got a list of about 20 things. The Suzanne Summers diet. You remember her? Suzanne Summers?
Yeah.
You old guys? Yeah. So she had a diet, and she was very fit and very healthy, and she ate one food per day. So she would go, what do you eat? Are you a carnivore? Are you an omnivore? Are you a vegan? And she would eat a protein on one day. So her gut said, oh, you're eating protein today, just like we did 200,000 years ago. We ate what we had, and that's the way we evolved. And she would eat protein and not have an upset tummy and blah, 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 blah. And then she would do a day with mostly vegetables. And then she would do a day. But yeah, I guess I'm blessed by genetics. I have always loved sauerkraut. I have always loved spinach. I have always loved Brussels sprouts. I have always loved even broccoli. And one thing, my brother he gags when he sees me eat beets. I have always loved beets. And you can buy beets at Costco now in the form of a frickin' pill because they are healthy. Yeah, what else did I have on my list? Sauerkraut, kimchi. Yeah. All right. Tom, go ahead, man.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you just said, Dean. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts are really good for you. In general, fermented foods seem to be good, like sauerkraut and kimchi and so forth.
Yep.
As far as your breakfast, Stan, walnuts are really good for you. They have good oils and stuff like that. Blueberries, our food industry tends to
They're too plump.
they tend to breed things so they have more sugars.
Wild variety.
So the big blueberries that look like grapes are really not that good for you. They have a ton of sugar in them, but the wild blueberries are good for you.
Yeah.
They're smaller. And so you have to be careful, not if you're talking about one product, it can vary depending on how it's been bred or grown. But for example, bananas. People like bananas, potassium and all that kind of stuff. If they're pretty ripe, they again have a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
So different things, even in different stages of their development, of their growth, may or not be more nutritious for you than at other stages. So it's hard to categorize things generally. You have to be a little specific about what you're really eating. But we need a variety of stuff.
Right, David.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
And in some cases, the complications really do make a difference. But there are books on food as medicine, and clearly you can make significant differences in your health, your long-term health prospects by what you eat. I'm playing with the idea of using a doctor's, I should say a PhD video for my presentation in 3 weeks on how our lifestyle is not conducive to good health after 60 in the United States. Presented by a evolutionary biologist. He makes some very interesting arguments that we may get into it in a couple weeks. But food is definitely medicine.
Okay, who's next?
Dean. Yeah, you are what you eat. That very smart, like she invented that phrase. I mean, for crying out loud. We are what we eat for 2 million years. Yeah, I got notes there. Circle back.
Tom.
I'm not sure where I heard this, but there are only 3 bites of anything. There's the first bite, and there's the last bite, it's gone, and then there are all the bites in between, and you don't really notice those. Little tiny cupcake is maybe 2 bites, the first and the last. And after years of buying things, fruits especially, but I suspect other things, there's a blueberry has a certain amount of taste. And if you have a little blueberry, it's very concentrated. And if you have one of those giant blueberries, it's almost the size of a golf ball. It seems to have about the same taste as the little blueberry does. But it has a whole lot more calories. And the same for strawberries. Little tiny strawberries. I had a strawberry once. It weighed 3 ounces. One strawberry. It was not quite as big as a tennis ball. And it was almost totally bland. Just a little hint of strawberry taste. So, I don't know. Food is important.
Go ahead. Before, Dean, I'm going to get to you. One thing I want to point out, and this is going to be kind of the theme of my talk, is that, in my opinion, okay, prior to this research on the microbiome, we didn't really have a owner's manual or a roadmap of how our digestive system worked. We had a lot of people that are trying to sell you dairy. There's the National Dairy Association. There's the Ranchers Society. This is going to come up in a video. I'm kind of ruining it for you. I'm giving you the spoiler alert. A lot of what you the lunch the lunches that at your kids' menu at the school lunches and so forth are determined by these corporate interest for these particular foods. And they don't really have that much to do with the actual instruction manual that your body is already, which we didn't discover. We're kind of discovering it. So I guess what I want to say is, to wrap this up quickly, is that all of a sudden now I feel like I've got a roadmap or a manual that I can use as a guide to determine what I can do to make sure that I'm not only going to have a nutritious meal, but I'm going to have a meal that's going to be compatible with my mental resources. The idea of, okay, I have a brother that's 12 years older than I am, living in Des Moines in a dementia unit. And when I see that, I think I don't want to go that route. And his diet is pretty bad. And even in the unit, I kind of want to be able to go down there to those people in that unit and say, you're not really paying attention to his needs. And they just basically, you're not here. You're in Minneapolis, you're not in Des Moines, you're not in part of this. This is not your problem to solve. So I'm trying to self-medicate myself with the best plan I possibly can. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, so you've had to give up on your brother, and I know all about that. By the way, I got a couple of notes. Kimchi. I served with the Korean Marines in Vietnam for 2 years. I got addicted to kimchi, and which it's sauerkraut with varying degrees of hot, and capsaicin, by the way. I have capsaicin pills. Capsaicin, hot peppers, hot food, that is a wonder cure for your gut. I don't get the runs eating hot food. I get the runs eating all the carbs that because I'm not a cow. I'm a blood type C. I'm a vegetarian carnivore. And mastication, what else did I have? Okay. Yeah. So my point is, we have always known for, I'm going to say 4 million years, the brain gut connection, right? As in, I had a gut feeling. I had a lot of gut feelings in Vietnam. In other words, it goes right down to your stomach. We have always known that was a one-way highway. And now we are finally discovering that it is a two-way highway. And
I got that movie coming up right now.
Yeah, and they're just now beginning to try to understand how the gut gets through the blood-brain barrier. All right, let's see the video. Yeah, I want to circle back to the antibiotic thing. And if you have ever been prescribed an antibiotic in your life, you take it for the full 5-day, 7-day, 10-day course. And if you don't, my video is off. Sorry. If you don't, then all you're doing is raising the next super, the antibiotic resistant microbe. But nobody enforces that. People take an antibiotic for 2, 3, 4 days. They feel great because it was bacteria, and then they quit. And then there's a remnant of those bacteria left that are resistant to that bacteria, and they become antibiotic resistant. And then it's a war that we will lose in the end, because the bacteria have been around for what, 1 billion years before us? Yeah. So they will win that battle. And when it comes to food, purple foods are good. And to Tom's point about, well, we make it sweeter, we make it blah, 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 people will like it. Kefir, Stan. I have kefir in my fridge right now. There ain't no sugar in that. It's unflavored. It's kind of ghastly to drink, but I drink it because it's good for me. But yeah, loading and you see our inclination to desire fat and sugar are inborn into us, because sugar was energy. Sugar and salt were almost as valuable as gold in the old days. I mean, salt was a very, and now our entire diet is sugar and salt, not mine, but most people's, especially subsidized by EBT, is salt and sugar. That is what we feed people. And I believe in the pharmaceutical food industry conspiracy that Stan, I think, believes in, as in, oh, we'll make people sick and then we'll sell them medications and treatments to treat that freaking sickness, the diabetes, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that some of it is genetic. My brother and I have different genes. I'm a Petty, he's a Kohlberg. He weighs 40 pounds more than I do. He loves sugar more than I do. And, I've gotten over it. And yeah, so some of it is just the, I don't know, it's in your DNA to, I don't eat healthy. And by the way, Stan, you're absolutely motivating me. I'm going to get my Ninja out and I'm going to start blending my walnuts and kale, et cetera, and drink that once or twice a day, which I was doing back when I was working for a living, because it kept me healthy. All right, David.
The
Can't hear you.
I'll try and clear my throat better. The
The
guy
phrase
that I
is
was
lean in.
the guy that I was talking about, who talks about what our ancestors survived when they were hunters and gatherers, that affects how our lifestyle today doesn't match with our body's expectations. Says that back then food wasn't available all the time, and salt and sugar were survival needs. So the people who survived were attracted to salt and sugar. They were necessary for life back then, and they were not readily available all the time. Today, we live in a totally different world where they are available all the time. And we're finding that they're either too much salt or too much sugar, or sometimes, well, it's complicated, but they mess up the balance in your body.
Tom.
There's a thing nowadays where we talk about food deserts. Referring to parts of the inner city where grocery stores are few and far between and very expensive. But and that's a real problem. I don't mean to belittle that. But there's another kind of food desert we have, and that's everywhere, including your local Byerly's. And that is how much of that product in the grocery store is food. I mean, 97 flavors of oyster crackers. Yeah, well, an oyster cracker is food, I suppose, but it's not very nutritious. And this is a different kind of a food desert where you're surrounded by things you can eat that have some caloric value, but they don't always do very much for the rest of your being. Anyway, I'm out. Next.
Wow, that was quick. Yeah, and by the way, Stan knows, maybe he doesn't. I live in a food desert. I mean, my brother and I are the only last two surviving white boys in our neighborhood. It is all Black and Hispanic. We have a food for less, and I gotta travel to get, and food for less is fine, but we live in a food desert. I know what that feels like. I've got a Costco 1.1 miles away, so I can get real food. Yeah, and all my neighbors it was all Black, and there were older than my brother and I, white boys that bought these homes in 1956, and they're all gone now. Those houses have all been flipped. The Russians own them, and they're Airbnbs or whatever. But yeah, I know the feeling of being in a food desert, but I have a car and I can drive and I can get out of the food desert. And yeah, so I walk the walk of food deserts. But yeah, our inclination towards sugar and salt are 100% built in to our early survival. It is how we evolved before the Mesopotamians invented that humans can eat grass, because they had killed off all of the healthy stuff. And I tend to stay away from grass. If you eat nothing white and you eat a lot of purple, you will be healthier. My dad's third or fourth wife, I think, I don't know, we can't count, was from Peru, and when he worked in Peru for 10 years in the oil fields in the Amazon, and married a wonderful woman, 4 great kids, emigrated them up here, and she got up here and went to the supermarket, and she said, "You call these potatoes? Are you effing kidding me?" Yeah, because Peru invented potatoes, and they have like 200 species of potatoes, and most in Peru, and most of them are healthy, and you can find them, but they're hard to find. Nobody has their hand raised, so we're waiting for a video, man.
I'm ready for a video. I'm ready for the video. I have one point I want to just discuss, and I think I remember this from in the 70s or 80s, maybe in the 90s. There used to be a thing called ulcers, right? And I think this one doctor.
What? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Ulcers.
Ulcers. Yeah, that's why my mom died at 42. But
this doctor out of Australia, I think, did some research and decided that ulcers were a bacteria, and he gave himself ulcers and then basically cured himself. And he got really dinged by the medical industry because of all the money that was being made on medications for ulcer, Pepto-Bismol and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if I can interrupt, my mom had an ulcer, a bleeding ulcer, but that's a long story. But yeah, we used to treat ulcers with milk. The absolute worst thing you can do for an ulcer, for most people, is give it frickin' milk. And capsaicin, as in hot chili peppers, can be a cure and a treatment for ulcers. Fact. Google it, AI it, whatever you guys do. Carol.
Well, I don't think Stan was done, was he?
Well, I've got this next video to show. I mean, what I think I'm trying to say here is that, and this is going to be emphasized by, I think, this next video, is that the roadmap to good health and a nutritious diet and in the microbiome is presented by the information of the microbiome information. But I think it's going to be suppressed. I mean, here's my analogy. It's like the oil industry wants to keep us on oil, and the renewable group wants to come in with their ideas about things. And I think that that's kind of the same thing happening with the microbiome. It's new ideas about how to stay healthy and and this is my big vision. I look at all the obesity in America and across the world, and I think that this is part of the solution to that problem. I mean, I don't want to get so evangelical preachy about it, but I am going to be kind of a fundamentalist preacher about biome. I think this is my new, and until someone convinces me that it's not true, that you can go ahead and eat your Doritos and eat your potato chips and drink your Cokes, that this is the way to go. But let me show this next video, and then we'll go back at
Carol has her hand up. She's had her hand up for first time.
I'll be happy to talk about it after Stan's video.
Thank you.
This is going to be short.
Mhm.
Okay, that was it. That was my 30-second capitalism overalls.
Uber. That's
Go
why
ahead.
I ride the lift. Carol,
Before Dean.
and circle back because we're the only two people that have our hands up.
Okay. Perhaps the strongest difference that currently exists in the human population is between those of us who can eat dairy products as adults and those of us who are deemed lactose intolerant. And in this country and in most of Europe, being lactose intolerant is a very infrequent condition that is seen as an ailment, whereas in Oriental populations, it is absolutely normal. They're all lactose intolerant.
Not all. Most. I've studied it
Overwhelming
for 50
majority.
years. Yeah, the overwhelming majority. Yep.
And this has basically been the result of the fact that being lactose tolerant as an adult is a fairly recent mutation in the human genome. And I believe we are the only mammals for whom this is true. All the other mammals are lactose intolerant.
As adults.
Well, actually, as post-weaning.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right about the time they get over living on their mother's milk.
I know. And I drank milk until I was 35 years old and realized it was poison to me.
Well, what I am suggesting is, I think any realistic look at the gut as part of human digestion
Part
has
of?
to
Part of?
Please,
has to look at the difference between people who are lactose intolerant as adults and people who are very lactose tolerant as adults.
In 1985 or 86, my girlfriend was reading a book called Fit for Life. It was about a vegetarian lifestyle. And I had been suffering since junior high, or as long as I could remember, I've been suffering from terrible sinus conditions. And in fact, my college mates my nickname was Hack, because I was hacking up also so much phlegm all the time. And so she said that in this book, they said that the drinking of milk, there's an enzyme called casein in milk that's a phlegm producing agent. And so I tried an experiment, and I was drinking, whole milk every meal. Like I was a poster child for the American Dairy Association. This is when they had the white mustache ads going. And so I stopped milk for a week just as a test, and my sinuses dried up, and they have never come back. So, and in that particular book about Fit for Life, the guy made a joke about if you're driving along, I mean, the idea is adults drinking milk. It'd be like you're driving along the road and you see a cow and you park your car and you walk over and jump a fence and go suckle a cow. I mean, that's what we're doing when we're drinking milk out of the carton. Now I do drink skim milk for my breakfast. That's it. That's all the milk I drink.
Skim milk is the worst milk you can drink. I drink only whole milk, but you can Google that or AI it.
Well, it is still true that when this mutation, this lactose tolerant as post-weaning, when this mutation arose in a human population, it spread like wildfire. It was.
I disagree. I don't think it was a mutation. I think infants drank milk, and then post-weaning children ceased to drink milk because mama had a new baby, and you ain't getting one of my teeth. And we were weaned. I knew a girl who breastfed. I worked with her child until she was, good Lord, 3, 4, 5 years old. I thought that was kind of weird.
It is emphatically a mutation. There is a difference in the genome of people who are lactose tolerant and people who are not.
They're different alleles.
And I will recommend, you guys are always recommending books, and I will recommend a book that my late sister found. that saved our family. And
Yeah.
it was Dr. D'Adamo, D-Adamo. And I'm swear to God, if anyone sends me their email address, I will Amazon a copy of them
Well,
to their address. But that
Yeah.
was a starting point. There are what? 9 billion, 8 billion, 12 billion, 15 billion people on the planet. There are that many diets. There is no one diet that is perfect for all of us because we
no,
all have unique genetics because we've been interbred for God knows how long. And
but I would suggest that we need to pay attention to the genetic differences in human populations.
which, Carol, all starts with your blood type. My blood type is C. Positive, negative, that involves rhesus monkeys. Irrelevant. It wasn't for my sister who could have been born a blue baby. But yeah, what you start with is C. Blood type C was around since we crawled out of the trees. That was the original blood type, paleo. And in our family,
Can you relate that to the ABO that I
absolutely. Carol, send me your email address. I will Amazon you that. Send me your street address. I will Amazon you that book.
well,
Yeah, and that was my starting point. And that was written in my sister found that book in and it changed all of our family's lives. We found out that some of us were C, some of us were B, some of us were A, and we all tried to roughly follow, breaking it down into fours, pretty crude, but it's an approximation. And we all started following the diet that was right for our type. That's the name of the book, Dr. D'Adamo, Right for Your Type. And oh, guess what? All of us lost weight eating completely different foods. Had I can't eat what my niece can eat. And the best blood type is AB because and there is some of that in Asia, and an A was invented 15,000 years ago. That's
evolved.
evolved in Mesopotamia when they killed off all the animals and started eating grass, because that's all that wheat and rice are, is grass. We became
Untrue.
yeah, and
Human beings cannot survive on what is usually termed grass.
I can't. Other people can. We are all different, Carol. Come on. Yeah. And anyway, so we all went on this diet, tried to follow it pretty rigorously. I lost weight. I was healthier. I felt better. And so did my nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters and father, who were varying blood types. I think we have C, A, AB is the best one because there are lactose tolerant ABs, and which means you can eat almost anything you want to eat. I would love to be that, but I am not.
Dean, I want you to do a talk or put a presentation on blood type sometime. Okay.
I will, but I see FICA has their hand up.
Well, so does Carol.
No, that's up from,
Carol and I have been debating back.
we were still talking, but I will lower that.
I will lower my hand. manually because I can't do it anymore.
Becca?
Yes, thank you very much, and hello, everyone. So the topic is the effect of food on mental health. And I thought just hearing the conversation, I'm a bit late, so I apologize for that, but hearing the conversation about dieting and all those things brought to my mind how on one hand, we talk about the food that goes into the stomach and the way everything in this food can affect the mental health and all everything. But also on the other hand, there is this whole idea of being very uncomfortable with food, especially in, I would say probably as more in the Western societies, that people are just constantly uncomfortable with anything they consume. And I found that to be one, based on my interaction with people, and also based on everything that we have evidence, documented evidence and all that, how it affects not only the physical health, but also the mental health. It affects the way we choose to eat. So people would go more towards packaged food, food that give you more information. Quite often we only look at calories and see, and by say we, it's possibly the majority of people being very concerned with calories rather than anything else, going towards sweeteners and so many different ways that we become very uncomfortable with food. I wonder how this food affects people in many ways. It affects the weight gain, it affects weight loss, it brings people to social isolation, with again anxieties, depressions, lack of self-confidence. It also brings a lot of chronic stress to people, always and constantly, with the mind being busy with, hey, how much more weight do I have on me than people that I hang out with? Mostly it's about weight gain, right? The thinner you are, the better you look and the more recognition you get from the society. And also the gender aspect of that. The society is much more critical of women struggling with weight gain, particularly. So that in turn affects the way metabolism works in the body. It also reduces with the increase in anxieties and, as I said, stress, chronic stress, and lack of self-confidence and everything. It also increases the lack of mortality if people feel that they're not really accepted into the society. So just the relationship between one part of it is eating food and another part of it is being uncomfortable with eating food in every ways. Another part of that is the morality of food, which we talk about quite often, especially eating meats, red meats more than anything. So there's quite a bit of anxiety surrounding this consumption of food that could affect mental health in people in very, very significant ways. Thank you.
True. Thank you very much for you. Eric?
Yeah, Franco, real quick, thank you for that. Yeah, that was brilliant.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
in general, I've tried several of the periodical health periodicals from the most prestigious universities and medical centers, and of all of them, maybe surprisingly, I found the best, most useful is the one from Tufts, even better than Harvard Medical School. And I think the reason is that for some reason they have, they used to have, I don't know, maybe it still is the best research center, nutritional research center. There's sort of historical reasons why certain places they're the best at certain specialties, and theirs is nutrition research and for many decades. So I just wanted to point that out. Yeah, you can just look on the web and find it and subscribe. I found it very useful. Although they all tend to be repetitive, eat more veggies, lose weight, exercise. They all tend to be repetitive of that. But
One
they do have
size does
original
not fit
research. Every issue, usually there's something new that I hadn't heard of.
Right. It becomes a doom cycle because on one hand, we want people to be healthier and eat healthier, but on the other hand, this mental and social cultural pressure on people actually drives them to eat unhealthy, and it a lot of stress affects your cardio, affects your blood pressure, affects you in so many ways that in turn affects the way you eat and you decide to eat, right?
Here, here.
Okay, I've got one more video that I can fit in to. This is a 14-minute video. By the way, I have an entire doc file that I'm going to be giving out with all the information. When the video comes out, it'll all be there. There are several, maybe a couple of hours of video that I'm not showing, but I've got in my resources here. But this is one that's going to be short enough to do before noon.
How short?
A few years ago.
14 minutes. Okay, Dean.
I will defer to Wayne, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Well, I thank you for the deference. Yeah, I didn't recognize her at first, but as soon as I saw the pictures, I read her book about a year ago, Gut, and it has those strange drawings. Some are very good, others, she had her sister do it. Her drawings, I think 1,000 words is worth one picture because they don't.
They're New Yorker-like drawings. They're cartoonists. You New Yorker cartoonist-like drawings.
Yeah,
I love the New Yorker cartoonists. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's very good at the writing. Explains it very clearly. I'm glad I saw it. I liked it immensely, and so I'd highly recommend the book. We did it in a science group a few months ago. So, that's it for me.
Well, why don't you tell us a couple of the best things that you found in her book?
Yeah, well, hold that book up again so I can do a screenshot.
Sure, it's Gut by Giulia Enders. Giulia. I can't.
Can you post that in the chat?
I'm very slow. I'm very slow.
I know. It's a hassle.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's Gut.
Gut. G-U-T. Even my brain can remember that.
Yeah. And the subtitle, The Inside Story of Our Body's Most Undervalued Organ.
Yep.
And just look up images.
Yeah. If you're done or not done, either way, I was fascinated. I had forgotten that graph stand. And by the way, if you could turn on closed captions, which sometimes in AI Google are very, very good, because these people that, forgive me, my Asian friends, no speaking English, as I speak it. I use closed captions on everything I watch from BBC.
Excuse me, I should have done that. I usually use that closed caption. I wish you would have said something earlier. I would have turned it on immediately.
No, she was very understandable, and we lost Tika. I'm sorry we lost her because she was fascinating. So where was I going? Wayne, remind me.
Well, we were talking about God and the strange pictures.
Yeah. No. Okay. Thank you. What was reinforced in what's left of my brain at 78 is that 10% is from your brain to your gut. Well, that's the 10% that makes you S your P's when you're in danger, right? Yeah, fight or flight. And that 90% is the other way around. And we are just now discovering that it's not a brain-gut connection, it's a gut-brain connection. And, I mean, the saying, of I had a gut feeling, gut as in stomach, bowels, etc., and then feeling as in cerebellum or cerebrum or whatever the hell, whatever part of your brain. And
By the way, I just posted all of my notes, my doc file, and all my video links to the chat. And keep in mind that if you want that, you should download that now.
all right, let me
Because if
before you
say,
hang up, right, Stan? Because you're bailing in.
well, I got permission. I told my girlfriend I was presenting today, and she said I can have extra time. But,
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
but,
let me save the chat wherever the hell Zoom.
no, don't. Saving the chat won't help. You're going to have to download that gut-brain connection doc file that's in the chat towards the bottom.
Well, but saving the chat will keep the link, correct?
No.
No?
The
I
link,
don't see it yet in my chat.
I do.
It's called me, H. It's got H. I'm H because I'm the host.
Oh, I'll bet you sent it while I was offline on the phone. Never mind. I'll get it from David.
No, just Stan Bissinger, the genius of computing with
No,
light.
I'll send it again. I can send it again.
I wish we had an email list where we could, anybody who wants to be on it, but yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I'll try to get it. You can, Stan, we'll talk. You can send it to me by email, whatever.
Well, once I get this video done, which could be soon, I mean, I can, I'll be cutting and pasting the entire contents of this into the description of the video. So when the video
on Meetup, which always disappears.
No, on YouTube. When I post it on
what is YouTube? I don't do YouTube.
Oh,
well, you're sacrificing a huge part of your modern experience of life.
I look at it differently, Sam. I think you are sacrificing a huge part of your.
Yeah, because I don't watch cable TV. Oh my God. Let me go.
I don't have frickin' cable, Sam. I watch over the air, old fashioned broadcast TV, like we all used to watch. I know you're a born again futurist. I can't help that, Stan. You're beyond help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dean, I'm going to ask you to hold off for a while and let some other people participate. Go ahead, Eric.
Absolutely. One hand up.
Dean, even though I grant you, probably 99.9% of everything on YouTube is sheer drivel and maybe more, but that still leaves the amount that's on there now of more quality stuff coming out every day than I can consume.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the ratio of quality to horse crap?
Oh, maybe less than maybe 1%, but that doesn't matter. It's how much good stuff there is, not how much bad stuff.
Yeah, but who finds that good stuff?
Oh, there are ways. Yeah, I find it gradually. People
but do the unwashed masses find the good stuff? No, they
that doesn't concern me though. That doesn't bother me.
Well, you're an elitist.
When you said unwashed masses finding good stuff, you actually said people who are lost will never be found. That's not the problem. The quality of the content is still there. But I mean,
but it requires an inquiring mind who seek it out.
Yeah.
It's not the drivel that they get on TikTok, hip hop, rap crap, what's up, blah, 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 blah. And that's why I contend that 99% of the internet is horse hockey.
Yeah.
And it requires the 1% elite can find the good stuff. Well,
it takes an effort.
My definition of elitism.
Yeah.
Dean, you are running into Sturgeon's law.
Yeah.
Sturgeon is an optimist.
Dean
is an optimist.
I love Sturgeon caviar, but yeah, go ahead.
The science
No.
fiction writer, she means.
Sturgeon's law is after the science fiction writer Theodore Sturgeon.
Okay.
And he pronounced that 99% of everything is dreck.
That's in context was somebody said, no, I tried some of that science fiction you write and I found it's drivel or shit. And he says 80% of everything is shit.
See, everything I know about science fiction, I learned from Isaac Asimov when I was 8, 10, 12 years old. But yeah, that's probably my failing.
Right, but again, it's not just science fiction. It's not just YouTube. It's any information source or entertainment source or what have you. Basically, all but less than 1% of it is dreck. And everybody has to go hunting for the useful stuff in any.
No, hunting and gathering, both.
Tom, try it.
Sturgeon was an optimist.
Yeah. It seemed more like 99%.
Well, yeah,
I'm gonna-
I love optimism, but you have to temper it with pessimism, right?
I'm going to cut in with a little bit of a follow-up from last week. I tried to do something with ChatGPT that I didn't want to, ChatGPT, what I didn't want to do for myself because it was too much, it was overwhelming. So I took my master's thesis from 1987, which was not in a printable doc, was a printed document, but not something I could throw at ChatGPT. So earlier I had taken my phone with my optical character reading capability and compiled all 30 pages of my master's thesis into the phone as a doc file. And then I went to ChatGPT and I said, I would like to see if you could take this file as a messy, compiled format of words that this is not even in, APA format anymore. It's all just crap. And can you turn it into a file that I could probably be able to present my colleagues? And before I even started I got two or three lines into the prompt, and it said, do you want me to do blank? And when it was basically, it read my mind. It said, this is what you want me to do, right? And I said, yes. And it said, hand me the doc file, and I did. And within 3 to 5 seconds, I had my entire paper done for me in an APA format.
And you think this is a good thing, Sam. I think it is an evil thing. And we will go to our graves disagreeing on that.
And it also gave me a second file, which is the file that looks back from today and sees that what I was doing had value in today's world, not just necessarily 1987.
I will give you that.
You could say that this is ChatGPT blowing smoke up my ass, and I think that there's a portion of that in there. But the fact is, I still have 2 documents at least. I saved this was maybe 2 hours of interaction with ChatGPT that I documented and put into Word files, because every time I do they make it very easy to copy and paste it into a file every time you do and I think it keeps track of it itself. But the bottom line is, I have something that I can share now. It's almost like all of my images that I had taken when I was in my family images that were taken prior to phones. And I've been able to use PhotoMine to get them so I can onto my phone. I now have this information about my past research history that's shareable. And that's the value to me.
Yeah, you are a walking infomercial, Sam. H-Sound.
Oh, Spices, I have to go. It was a great presentation, Stan. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, all.
It was
Bye.
fabulous. Fabulous. Jack.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I'm weird. My hand is persistent. This doesn't work anymore. Everything else works. Yeah, I don't know why the raise hand doesn't work anymore. Because I
Well, your
read.
hand's already up.
Huh?
Your
I
hand is
know,
already
but
up.
in the old days, as soon as I would say 4 words, my hand would go down. If I would interrupt, it would automatically go down. And that taught me, well, it's still teaching me not to interrupt. But my mom tried to teach me that 78 years ago. So good luck. Carol.
Yes, I have a question for Stan. Do you have any more significant on this topic presentation that you'd like us to see?
No, it's afternoon. I don't want to do anything afternoon. But there are other videos that you can watch that I put into that doc file that you can download. But just
Okay.
download that file before saving the chat's not going to give you that file.
Well,
Yes.
how do I download it?
Click on that.
Click on
that
what?
file, and
Click
it'll
on
download
what?
it.
In the chat. Okay, I'm going to chat. You got
It's
to
called
walk.
the gut brain the gut brain connection.
All right, and then hit the download, and then it's going to my printer.
Should go to your downloads file.
It's going to my fucking excuse me, Carol. It's going to my gall darn printer. I did save file. Where that will be saved, only
Do you have a
Zoom.
downloads? You have a Mac. It's got a downloads directory.
Well, all right, let me try it again. I know I'm on the Mac, so I go to the chat. I open it up. Gut brain connection 16 KB, and I hit. Let me hit ... Save as, save in folder, or copy. There we go. All right, now it's copied to my clipboard. You know, all platforms are different.
Yeah.
Carol,
Well, anyway, Stan, the thing that I found surprising in your description of what you were going to be talking about was this vagus nerve connection. And because that has not been my experience with the vagus nerve at all. And I was just wondering, can you tell me where to look for more on your vagus nerve to the brain connection from the gut?
thank you
Google
very much, Carol. I want to actually
AI.
I want to
AI.
actually do an
Damn it, will you shut up?
I want to do an experiment with you guys because I haven't tried this yet. I'm going to go into my, you're watching me, right?
Yeah.
I want to go into here and see if this will work. Hold on. I'm going to click on the microphone. Tell me about the vagus nerve in the gut-brain connection.
Sponsored results. I say no more. Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. That's what Google is. It's pennies per click. That's why they're quadrillionaires.
Okay. Well, see,
And I will do an infomercial for DuckDuck AI, which works very well. I use DuckDuck as my main browser. Right?
Okay.
I have 2 browsers, Safari and DuckDuck.
thank you,
but
Dean.
the AI gleaned from Google works brilliantly. I have found recipes for anything I want to know. I found answers to questions without all the M and F and ads.
Okay, Dean, would you allow me to continue my dialogue with Stan without interrupting?
I'll try. I'll mute. How's that?
Please.
Okay. See, Stan, you have done something very, very important for me in this. Because as I say, all of my experience with and reading on the vagus nerve has been with its connection to uterine function. And so looking at this, I kind of feel like I did before I started researching oxytocin. Because before I read The Moral Molecule and started researching oxytocin, the only thing I knew about oxytocin was that it could be used to induce childbirth.
And can I interrupt real quick? Stan, can you stop sharing that useless screen that I can't click on so I can see Carol? Thank you.
Just listen to me. Okay, so I had one situation where I knew very, very little about a hormone, a biological function. And, all of a sudden, it just expanded into something very important in my life. And it's looking to me here as though you have just given me another place to go and research that is going to be very important in my life.
Well, there's another video, Carol, I'll share with you later. I'll send it to you as an email.
Okay.
It's Bonnie Bassler, who teaches biology at Princeton, talking about how bacteria communicate. And she gets into the discussion about bacteria do what they call quorum sensing. Have you ever heard of quorum sensing?
Spell it.
Q-U-A-R-U-M, quorum. Hold on.
Quorum, as in the U.S. Senate. Read the Constitution. Do we have a quorum? It's a consensus. Latin for consensus.
And basically, the phenomenon of quorum sensing means that they detect, it's kind of like an army that decides to attack when there's enough soldiers there to do the job. When they detect that there's enough of them there, they do their thing. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And the particular biological phenomenon that they did the research on to determine that this was fluorescing microbes in the ocean. You probably are familiar with the fact that sometimes you can see this bright green thing going on in the ocean.
Yep.
And that only happens when there's enough of those particular bacteria that do that. They have a quorum sensing phenomenon that they basically they turn on. Now it's possible, I just thought about, I don't know if that's how lightning bugs work. Maybe they got a similar thing going on.
Yes, they do, Stan. I know all about lightning bugs.
Okay.
And yes, they do. And
But
so do social spiders.
The research that they came up with says that that's not just fluorescing, it's everything bacteria do. That they have this tendency to quorum sensing to do what to do their thing.
In other words, they do. Are there enough of us to
to do X.
Exactly like war. Are we likely to win? And yes, we are likely to win. Let's do that. Just like every war.
Carol, oh, I
And
can
I
tell you.
would tend to think of that as like threshold sensing.
Well,
Well,
quorum.
I think that quorum sensing and threshold sensing are
Synonyms.
Yeah, something that does not affect until it reaches a particular level.
Right. And I'll real quick, and then Eric's had his hand up. I was watching a series I would commend and then recommend to you is Sir David Attenborough's parenting nature, because I'm a nature boy, right? And there's these amazing spiders called social spiders.
Work today is broken. Every day, people juggle so many different tools just to get work done. A simple
It's an
Yeah,
enzyme.
that's what I wanted to see was a freaking ad. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. So
What?
Stan shut me up.
I'm sorry, that's Bonnie Bassler, and I'm going to post this to the chat. I forgot that I was muted.
Don't leave before I save the chat.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I say something about the vagus? I should have said when everybody was up still, because it's something important about the vagus nerve that I learned the hard way before I found out that one can get dehydrated without even realizing it. I passed out, and you can look it up. It was scary because my brain wasn't working right as I woke up, and I thought maybe I had a stroke or something. And I got to the emergency room. The doctors called it vasovagal syncope. It was the name of what I had.
they love their Latin.
Yeah, and basically it was I was dehydrated, and I guess the brain was shutting down, and involves the vagus nerve. You can look it up.
yeah.
And everybody should know that. I should have said that to everybody because it's important. You know?
It is important as we age.
Yeah, you got to just
by
get
the way,
bottom line is drink. Drink. A fill at least 3 times a day in the morning when you get up, maybe in the middle of your day, and then a couple hours before you go to bed.
Yep. But what I found out when I was in my last bout in the ER and then the clinic and whatever, and all I had was a broken rib, which is getting better by the day. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus, as we say down here. And and there, so that anyway, it turns out that bananas contain potassium. Guess what potassium does?
Well, many things.
It lower many things, and we need it. We need aluminum. We need magnesium. We need
And
iron.
too much of it can give you heart failure.
Exactly. And they said, well, I eat a banana at least once a day, and they go easy on the bananas because I eat a no salt, low salt diet, right? I eat a paleo salt diet, and they said that will lower. They wouldn't they wouldn't release me for 2 days, even though it was take 2 aspirin, call me in 16 weeks. You've got a hairline fracture in your rib. Great. I'll get over that. I probably had them before. And but they effed me up, the cardiologists, who were probably, I never saw one. They were down in Cancun doing this on their iPhones. I don't know what they were doing. And they said, well, your blood saline levels are too low. Your brain will die without enough saline, and your heart will fail. And I said, well, I don't want that, but if it happens, I want it while I'm in the hospital. Thank you very much. And yeah, and anyway, so the balance between potassium and saline are hypercritical. And they gave me some urea, which is basically piss, right? Uric acid, et cetera, and I poured that in, and I drank that 2-3 times a day. And that contains no saline, but what it does is balance the thing between the fight over potassium and NaCl.
Now, potassium is absolutely essential to the functioning of your nerves,
Absolutely.
but too much of it,
Yeah.
like practically anything,
Well,
too much of it is dangerous.
the key word is homeostasis. You got to keep all your different parameters in a certain range.
Exactly. Too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that is an axiom.
Something that
All things
raises
in
one parameter
moderation.
can lower another. So the trick is try to keep them all in a narrow range.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go. Dean, do you want to be host or?
Yeah, why not? I've got a lot of sleep last night, so
Yeah.
Again,
Right.
Stan, I really thank you for this.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Well-
you have introduced me to a whole new area of information that I think I need.
Well, I think that there's a suppression of this information because the capitalism of the health organizations see this as a competition for supremacy. It's like the reason why big oil doesn't want to move out of the capital and allow I mean, I'm a big fan of Senator Whitehouse, who talks about the problem with the government is that it's basically oil. It's an oil-based government.
Stan always comes back to the oil,
Well,
There's
I mean,
many
Eisenhower was the one who first stated that
beware,
we were in trouble with the military-industrial
beware the
many lobbies all fighting. Like Cameron said, always assume that any communication that you're receiving, whether from wherever or whomever, the source is always speaking in their own perceived self-interest. It's a good rule of thumb.
Well, don't we all, right? I mean,
Yes.
And so I think that's why this whole bacteria, I think people have this prejudice against bacteria.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
well, yeah, and that's why I have shied away from antibacterial for decades. Purell is good because that's alcohol. It only kills it only kills the COVID-19 on your fingertips. And but all this, the antibacterials that's in every freaking thing we buy at the supermarket now is a bad thing because it kills all bacteria, healthy and unhealthy. It is broad spectrum.
there's the last thing I want to say is there is another video that I didn't present because it's too long. They talked about prebiotics, and they basically the discussion was about the fact that if you're trying to tip the weight between the bad and the good bacteria, it's not worth your time to try to get rid of the bad bacteria. That's not worth your time. Just use the prebiotics that are designed for enhancing the good bacteria and let the bad bacteria alone.
And prebiotics are spinach and coleslaw.
They'll take care of themselves.
Yep.
So that's it.
They will start it out.